ready? You got me running, you got me running, got me running. Shake it, shake it, shake it, baby. Raise your hands up, raise them up.
All right, good morning, everyone, and welcome to the Currency Call presented by Forex Trading Asia. It is Tuesday, the 8th of March, and a big welcome to everyone watching the call live from the LCMS Traders Club. So given it's Tuesday, there is a little bit to go through in regards to the euro against the US dollar. We've got the euro pound in focus as well, which I'll be going through the US dollar index, and I'll also be touching upon the equity markets, as well as a little bit still going on in commodities, specifically in regards to oil, which is still seeing a bit of a price move to the upside, and something just to consider as well with a couple of stocks that are moving on the Australian Stock Exchange. But before we get into the details and the trade ideas too, I'll just read out the disclaimer. So any information shared in this video is not intended to be a trade recommendation. It is solely the opinion and views of the speaker. So please remember to do your own analysis prior to entering any trades. Now, we are happy to help as well if anyone's got any questions during the call or within the chat as well for the LCMS Trading Club members. So what I'll do to get us started is US dollar did not pull back really as I really wanted to see it do. I mean, there was a small pullback to 98.70, and as it was doing that, I sort of had a target and alert set for 98.50 to see how price would react. It never actually got there, so I left the trade. I thought it was going to just sort of remain sideways. We did see a breakout. This is GMT plus theta around 11 o'clock, and then we did see it top out at around 99.30. So there is some upside until we see a significant resistance level. That's 100 on the index, just slightly over 100. So a bit of work to do, and I'm not super interested in buying the breakouts as well to the upside. I wanted to see it pull back, and the reason for that is from a news point of view. We had yesterday, I've got here to recap, and there was no US news. Joe Biden did come out and say that they were looking to not utilize Russian oil anymore, but that was a talking point. It wasn't anything significant with regard to immediate action in that sense. So from a news perspective today, not a lot of high impact news out either today. So this could be enough to see the pullback. The main thing still going on is the Ukraine-Russia negotiations are still not seeing much action take place, and there's still activity in Kiev with the shelling and around that area. So Russia's still putting the pressure on Ukraine too from an attack standpoint, which just means that no negotiations are going to really happen properly until a ceasefire is followed. So Wednesday now, we've got the JOLT's job openings at 11 o'clock, but I just want to see that pullback on the US dollar. And in regards to commodities, so I think first of all, it's going to be interesting to see what Brent crude is doing. So overnight, it was still pretty strong too. And we got it, it was over 133 was where we saw it yesterday afternoon. And now we have seen the pullback, and now we're actually rallying again. So I was watching it when I was doing this morning, just with a few stocks that I was looking to potentially get into, and it wasn't doing a lot. Now we are seeing it rebound here as well. So something to pay attention to. And also gold is pulling back. It did get to over 2,000 US an ounce, but that did pull back. So oil seems to be the one where traders are seeing the most interest in from a long perspective. So I was looking at Woodside Petroleum, which trades on the Australian Stock Exchange, and hasn't done really a lot. I had an attempt when it was doing this, but that was stopped out for break even. And as you can see, the gap is pretty significant. So we might actually see this pull back some more, or if oil continues to rise, we might see it continue up. The high recently seen is 34.54. So, and the US session did sell off last night, and the Australian market, the ASX 200, is a little bit more stable, but it looks like it really wants to potentially test those lows. So it's choppy, it's unclear. So I'm staying out for the rest of the day, and we'll just see how things play out later in the US session. If there's any clarity on what markets are really looking to do. But looks like oil is really in focus because Russia is a big exporter of oil. So if you do trade oil, be cautious as well, because I've noticed that the spreads are widening a little bit and there seems to be an evacuation of volume at times. So be very cautious with that. But that's my take on the US dollar index. Pull back to 98.50. I'm still being patient. But we do have the Euro USD and the Euro pound here with Jin. So I'll hand it over to you now, Jin.
All right, thanks for that, Scotty. So, looking at a pullback in the dollar index, we've seen that happen last night. We saw that some movements there. So quickly just checking out the news in terms of the euro dollar. Quickly we can see that not a lot of news happening today, or well, a lot of news happening today, but not big price moving news. Some employment numbers, employment change numbers, but not going to move prices too much, especially for the Eurozone with the conflict happening at this point. What we're looking at is, if you cast your mind towards Thursday evening, 8:45 GMT plus 8, we do have the main refinancing rate from the ECB going to hold at 0.0%. The monetary policy statement, pay a bit of attention to that, and a press conference at 9:30 GMT plus 8. At this point, not expecting much of a surprise coming from the ECB. What's likely to happen is they have been talking about increasing rates later into the year. I think this might actually be delayed further because of what's happening in the Russia-Ukraine border, the conflict there, all that uncertainty adding to the need to hold on to policy and to see what happens before they take some action there. So that's for the ECB and the euro dollar. With that, on Thursday night as well, we do have the CPI number for the US month on month, looking to go from a 0.6 to a 0.8%. Core CPI dropping slightly from a 0.6 to a 0.5. I think we might actually see an upset there for the core CPI number. But again, the inflationary number, that CPI number for the US, looking to climb again, which could signal that dollar strength coming back into play. So with all that, what this means is, looking at the euro dollar here, right now sitting at this 1.0875 level. We've seen it find a base at this 1.0790, or more specifically 1.0840 level. It's found a base there. What I think is likely to happen at this point for the euro dollar on H4 time frame, same as what we've been talking about for the past couple of weeks. It's been trending down, but you've seen it not move in a straight line. It's bounced back up, it's come back, retest that resistance level, consolidate before breaking further. What I think we might see here is that slight consolidation, possibly a bounce back up towards that 1.0944 resistance level. Testing that, rejecting that level, I'll be looking for selling opportunities off that resistance level. Possibly not something quite soon, but we're going to take some time for it to move towards the upside, towards that resistance, test, reject, and sell it back down. So what I'll be looking for is selling opportunities below 109.30, 1.0930, about a 40 pip stop loss, about 120 pip take profit level, a 1:3 risk reward ratio towards the downside. 1:3 would be a very good trade, but at this point, because of all the uncertainty, I would say have your take profits at 120 pips, but be ready to close out even at a 80 pip take profit level as well. So you have a 1:2 to a 1:3 risk reward ratio towards the downside for the euro dollar on the H4 time frame. This would require it to move up, test that resistance before turning back down. If it just goes straight down towards this support level, I would say maybe a little bit hard to catch this trade towards the downside at this point. I would say let it break below 107, 1.07 before looking for that further move, or 1.08 actually, before looking for that further move towards 1.07. So forego that move, let it break below this support level before looking for further downside. With that said about the euro dollar H4 time frame, looking at the euro pound here, we've seen that, right? We've seen it bounce back up. We've seen it test that resistance, breaking lower, breaking that 829 or 83 support level, straight down, and then now back up. I think that we're going to see that sit in consolidation for a little bit, primarily because of the euro dollar dropping. We might see the pound dollar drop as well, which might cause that consolidation. What I'm looking for is for it to test and reject. Same thing like the euro dollar, test and reject. You could again be looking for, I'll be a bit safer here, selling opportunities below 8276. Below 8276. Oops, let me do that again. Below 8276. Stop loss about a 30 pip take profit level at this point, about 60 pips. A 1:2 risk reward ratio towards the downside, but I will look for it to reject this. There's one rejection here already. I might see it come back up, test and reject before looking to sell below 8276 for a 1:2 risk reward ratio towards the downside. 30 pip stop loss, 60 pip take profit level. Both trades on the euro dollar and the euro pound looking for further downside, but be very careful. You know, we have quite big take profits there. Be ready to take your profit as quickly as you can with all the uncertainty happening in the Ukraine and Russian border. With that, I'll pass it back to you, Scotty.
All right, thanks, Jen. And Gimme will be back tomorrow as well with the fundamental updates, everybody. And it is Tuesday, so we do have the 8 o'clock evening call tonight. So make sure you do make that. There's a lot to prepare for with this week with inflation out of the US. So just give you plenty of time to get your head around what is going on and what to look out for. But that is the end of the call. Thanks everyone for joining us, and hope to see everyone tonight and in the chat. Bye for now, everyone.